Welcome, I'm Todd Raffel with ERE Media. ERE.net is our domain name. And I am here with Susan Hailey from Metadata Solutions. She's going to be one of the speakers at the ERE conference at the end of October in Atlanta. And she has been with Metadata Solutions, which is a software company serving the biopharma industry, and among other companies previously with eBay. And we're talking about managing far-flung teams. That's can represent a variety of circumstances. It could be that the boss is one place and the employees are the other. It could be all employees are in all different places. Some employees are in the office. There's a lot of different things. But she has people, 1,150 people, in places like the US, in places like New York, as well as overseas, Singapore, Hong Kong, UK, elsewhere. And what is the most important thing, Susan, when you're talking about managing a far-flung recruiting team? Is it assessing people, managing people, hiring people? What if you had to kind of group it into a big category, what would that be?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And the main thing, I think there's really two things. The first is hiring really trustworthy people that clearly know what they're doing. So as much information as possible about the candidate that's going to come onto your team, I think is crucial. And then the second part, it's actually two parts to the second part, but the first one is I have regular one-on-ones with each of my remote employees. They also know that I am 100% available when they need me. So even if it's, off hours or out of working hours, they know they can contact me, they can call me, they can email me. Because there are things in the recruiting process that are very time sensitive. So they know they have 100% access to me. They don't have to go through anybody. They can just get to me. And then the second part of number two is I do a weekly staff meeting, which sounds kind of like, well, of course, who doesn't do a staff meeting? But I do a weekly staff meeting that I do an agenda. I make it very relevant to the issues that we're all dealing with as a team. We try to change up the time so that we can catch people in different time zones. And towards the end of the meeting, after we go through whatever general topics we have, I have every single person, including my coordinators and sourcers, go through kind of an update on what's going on in their world. And it's been so interesting to see my US team in particular become fascinated with what's going on in the UK or fascinated with what's going on in Asia. And it gives everybody a chance to kind of even pitch in a little bit, because I often say, bring your problem to the table, your problem of the week. This is a good group of people to kind of help you problem solve. So it builds a camaraderie, it builds teamwork, and it also helps the remote employees, especially the remote employees, feel engaged because they have something to look forward to every week. And, I make it fun. We always start our meetings with successful recognition. So people are feeling good when we kind of get into the body and the meat of the meeting. And I think, I've had a lot of feedback that people, in fact, I had to cancel the meeting a couple weeks ago, and people were like, oh, what's happening with the meeting? I really want to come to your meeting. It's so great to get connected with all our colleagues. I think there's a third part too. One is we are very blessed to have budget so that I can bring my remote folks to New York. We do that actually with all of our employees, no matter where they are in the world. They all come to New York for orientation, and they usually stay a week or so. And it gives them a chance to really get to know the rest of their colleagues and, form the relationships that definitely help as you're going through any kind of problem solving that, you need to go through and getting your job done.
These one-on-one meetings, they are weekly or monthly or neither?
No, they're weekly. Oh, no, they're weekly.
Weekly.
Yeah,
with
formal one-on-ones every week, where we go through, how is your work going? What are your biggest obstacles? If I have feedback for them, that's when I will give them feedback. If they have feedback for me, that's where they can give me feedback. So that's what we do. And I do that with all my employees. It tends to be much more important, though, that we stick to our schedule for my employees because, they are working remotely.
Whenever I read about remote work, and there's always a new blog post every day about remote work, I find myself disagreeing with all of them, maybe because they just repeat what someone else wrote. But most of them seem to have this message that you're supposed to sort of civilize yourself. Like you have to make sure you're dressed the right way, you shower the right time, you work at a desk, you work in the right place, you've got to simulate an office. But I feel like remote work or any work, don't you just want someone to be productive? I mean, do you care more about whether they're in the car or at home or in office, 2 a.m., 2 p.m., 2 hours a day, 12 hours a day, or do you care more about the result? And it's like weird how much more I hear about remote work, it's like we need to control these people because God forbid they've got a pajama bottom on. That can't be allowed. So I don't know what you think about that.
Well, I haven't read any of those articles, and if I had, I probably wouldn't agree with them either. The nice thing about recruiting is it's 100% measurable. We know when recruiters are getting their work done or not because they produce their numbers. They produce the fills that they are expected to produce. So I personally don't care. Now, what I do care about, and I don't have anybody, I have one person that works 100% remotely. I've learned over time, and in our case this works, is that it's really important that somebody, if they have the opportunity to come into the office once a week or even once a month, I think that's actually really helpful. In our world it is, because we are very hands-on kind of company, very relationship oriented, and in order for them to get their work done, having that relationship matters. And so I really encourage that. In terms of doing the work, I really don't care. They can do the work whenever suits them, but at the end of the day, to be effective, especially in the work that the recruiting work we do and the way that we operate, they do need to have those relationships in place. And my remote people, for example, I have a person in Japan, I have some people in the UK. They work in an office, they work in one of our offices, but they're remote to me.
Right.
So that's kind of that scenario. And in that case, and some of them, one of them, in fact, works 3 days a week in the office. She's 2 days a week at home. I could care less what they wear. I could care less what time of day. But if they have to have an interview at 4 p.m,
sure,
and it's with somebody from, a customer of ours, I will expect them to be dressed a certain way. That you can't be in your pajamas when you do that. So it's using mature, grown-up judgment is what I view as the most important thing. So I'm not a control type of a leader. I'd rather do the controlling up front and hire great people, so that one of the things I'm selecting for is the ability to be mature and understand how to manage themselves. I'm personally not that way.
Besides the obvious, which is of course the ERE jobs board, jobs.ere.net, that was a joke. What's the best source of remote recruiter hires? What's the best way to find them? Or the most important thing to look for? And then we'll let you go, by the way.
Okay, good. The most important thing, ideally, is an employee referral. Somebody that has worked with that person in the past, because that takes away all of the unknown that I would have to experience hiring somebody that I have really no track record with and no understanding whether or not they can really do the job at the level I need them to do, with the lack of supervision they're going to get on a day-to-day basis. Are they mature enough? So short of an employee referral, especially in countries where we haven't been present, I really have to rely on an external recruiter. And, I have certainly a series of executive search people I know. And for me personally, I would go that route. Yeah. Even if I'm not needing someone that can do executive search, those people tend to be very well connected. So it's a good way to get started into what I would call a warm network. Yeah. Of people that are probably mature and probably going to be able to do the work in the way that we need them to do it.
Susan Hailey from Metadata Solutions, I appreciate it very much. You'll hear more from her in Atlanta, the end of October, Atlanta, Georgia. She is talking about this topic in more detail and leading a discussion about it on the second day of the conference for 20 minutes as well, where you can talk about your own individual challenges, issues, concerns. We are both remote from each other, obviously, so apologies for any technical difficulties. Susan Hailey, thank you.
Thanks, Todd.